Good evening, race fans, and welcome back as the Camping Universe Series returns for the Virginia 200. It's going to be 200 laps here at the virtual Richmond Raceway. And again, such a good time being back out on track as we had a short off week last week. So I know broadcasters, fans, and racers alike are all glad to be back. As always, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, I'm James East in the booth, bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as we are currently underway for single car qualifying. And let's watch as Dave Gage, currently out on track, is going to see put down his fastest lap times. This is one of those tracks that I think most of the fast guys are going to be able to set their fastest lap in the opening lap as opposed to the usual second lap we see at maybe super speedways or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what everybody can do. As Dave Gage in the 404 machine, he's going to have a big spin there. And let's see if he decides to go back out or if he's going to call it there. Yeah, Gage in the 404 machine, he's been very fast all season long, but not having the night he wanted so far. Starting, we've got Clark Chineckin out on the number 81 machine, putting down his opening hot laps here today. On the left side of the screen, that's going to be the live timing and scoring tower to keep a track of where your favorite driver is here today. As let's see what Chineckin can put down. Smaller field than we've been used to seeing here today. Looks like only about 20 drivers making it out. I talked to at least 3 or 4 different drivers that were just unable to make it with bad timing. Look at that. Clark Chineckin comes out and throws it down onto the provisional pole position with a 21.97. About 0.2 faster than Caleb Nelson in the 07 machine. Tracy Wooten makes it out on track in number 14, a very late comer here today. Tracy had to get a little bit of tech support going into tonight's race, but was able to make it happen. Wooten, his last time by, a 22.94, just about one solid second off the pace of our pole setters. And it looks like Wooten is going to bring it in. We got Norman King going out on track in the number 28. Let's see what he can do. Now this is round 7 of the season here for the Virginia 200. Next week we go to the Brickyard 150, where it's going to be Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Then we've got Kansas, Talladega, and then the chase round starts on October 12th, starting at Bristol, which is going to be extremely exciting to watch. These competitors, probably one of the cleanest truck series that we broadcast. It's a lot of good racing week in and week out, and a lot of the guys run multiple leagues with each other. Always finding something fun to do. King clicks off at 22.3, good enough for 10th in qualifying. Looks like only one driver has not gone out at this point, and that's going to be Jesse Rathman in the number 97 Toyota. But I believe at this time we will do the mandatory drivers meeting before we send everybody out on track. As always, to our fans, friends, and family across the world, we thank you so much for tuning in each and every week, supporting your favorite drivers, your favorite broadcaster, and your favorite league, the Camping Universe Truck Series. These guys have a whole lot of fun, a lot of good, clean racing as we get ready to take it to tonight's grid to get this party started. It's going to be a little bit of a long race for some of these guys, but we're going to make it happen and get through this nice and clean is our prediction. As let's take a look at tonight's grid. Starting on pole, Clark Chineckin in the number 81. Caleb Nelson in the number 07 starting second. Jared Ziegler starting third in the number 8 machine. Spencer Chisnall, the number 24, starting fourth. Jeffrey Sykes in the 04 starting fifth. We've got Brian Ziegler in the number 7 starting sixth. Dylan Schultz in the number 61 starting seventh. Nicholas Wing in the number 99 starting eighth. Marshall Newton with Martial Arts and the number 76 machine starting 9th. Norman King with Mustard Seed Black Sheep Racing. He'll be starting 10th on tonight's grid. Kevin Nelson is starting 11th. Brian Robinson and the number 37 machine will be starting 12th here today. And we've got Dave Gage in the 404 starting 13th. Daniel J. Jensen, the number 29, starting 14th. Gabe Veman and the number 25. He'll be starting 15th on tonight's grid. Then we've got Cody Schultz and the number 30 machine starting 16th. Joe Croce, the number 18, starting 17th. Tracy Wooten, the newcomer, and the number 14, he'll be starting 18th. And then Jesse Rathburn and the number 97, unable to put down a qualifying time. But that will round out our field of drivers. 19 drivers making it to tonight's race. And it's going to be quite the interesting. This track can be deceptively tough for some of the drivers. Last race, I should say, with that off week, it was Caleb Nelson who brought it home on top at Chicagoland, where we only had one caution for 4 laps for the entire event. We had 7 different lead changes with 4 different leaders over the course of 117 laps. So let's see if the guys will be able to put down some good clean times here today after a bit of hiatus. Still waiting for a couple drivers to make their way out onto the grid. This is your front row, Caleb Nelson in frame with Clark Janecka to the left side. 2 very clean race trucks. Right now, it's a bit of a lull as drivers are in the drivers' meeting. Race control will go over a few last-minute notes for all of our competitors. And then we'll send them back out for, again, 200 laps here at Richmond. That's a long time for some of these competitors. Sounds like they're firing up the engines here today. And we're going to roll them out and get this party started. Again, 200 laps around a triangle, or kind of a triangle track. Not quite as tough as I would say Pocono is. But this is one of those drivers that, or the tracks that really suits certain drivers more than others. As some guys will say, it's very single line, and other drivers will say it's a bit of a tough one to really dial in. As we're going to do one more parade lap to get everybody ready to dive into battle here today. Pace car should be making its way in this time by. And again, it's going to be Janecka and Nelson, your front row for the start. It's going to be very interesting to see how this, you don't want to call it a stage opener, but an opener to the first race back after a break is always exciting. Pace car is in. Green flag flies. Away we go for the Richmond 200 laps, the Virginia 200. Janecka with a great start early on as Jared Ziegler, the number 8 machine, trying to work up the inside line of Caleb Nelson. You're on board with Ziegler. Man, look at the glare these drivers are having to deal with here today. As it looks like Chisnall trying to get his nose up in the mix as well, number 24 machine. As a very interesting time for our competitors to be out on track. This is one of those events where you really don't want the glare to mess with you. Here comes Jeffrey Sykes in the 04 machine. He's going to pick up 4th spot, diving it down the inside line. Now these guys only have so many hot laps they can put down on a set of tires before it really starts to play a factor. Up front, Caleb Nelson cuts off the fastest lap of the race with a 22.31. But how is tire wear going to affect these drivers out here today? And I'm very curious to see if we're going to get green flag runs that the series is known for. If we do, that could really shake things up, as already I believe Janekin and Nelson and Ziegler, your top 3, are going to be catching up to lap traffic here as we see Wooten and the number 14 machine dive down pit lane. Up front, things are a little bit calm. I believe it was Schultz. Yes, Dylan Schultz trying to make a move with the inside line of Brian Ziegler. As I think you're going to see a lot of drivers be pretty patient here, not wanting to push too hard too early and try and get through a fuel run. Not sure what the pit window is going to be at such a goofy track as Richmond. Only 0.7 miles for our competitors, so it really doesn't fall under the cookie cutters. Definitely not a super speedway, but also not a full-blown short track. As up front, the guys are charging hard. Jared Ziegler has got right to the back bumper of Caleb Nelson in the 07 machine. It'll be interesting to see who tries to set the pace here and try maybe hot lap, or who wants to play it safe and try and keep those tires underneath them. And we're going to keep an eye on the lap times as well, as right now Janekin's last time by at 22.65, about 0.3 off of his best lap of the race. I'm very interested to see how long those tires are going to be fast for these competitors and then start to rapidly fall off. Now historically, we've seen other leagues and other vehicles able to have some really long fuel runs here today, and it was more of a tire wear issue that really started to affect the drivers more so than anything. Especially those rear tires. You have to be very careful to avoid lighting them up coming out of the corners here at Richmond. Dylan Schultz still making moves in the number 61 machine. He's up 2 spots so far, getting by both Brian Ziegler and Spencer Chisnall that last time by. And now Chisnall is also going to have pressure from Brian Ziegler, the elder of the Ziegler family, as Brian tries to move back into 6th place, his original starting point. Right now he's down 1 spot from where he started, but it is very early on into tonight's race where tire wear and strategy could very well be the deciding factor, as there is only 18 drivers out on track at this point. Ziegler trying to pressure Chisnall here to take over that 6th place spot. Looking for an opening on the inside of the number 24 machine. Ooh, gotta be careful here. Brian doing everything in his power to try one way or the other to try and get around the number 24 machine. And he's got to know he's got Marshall Newton and Nicholas Swing right behind him as well, willing to capitalize. So if the field stacks up too much here for that battle for 6th place, that's going to allow a few more drivers into the mix, and that could spell disaster for the guys wanting to put down some good, clean laps. Again, you only have so much traction on these tires you can really burn off before your lap times start dropping like a rock, as already most of the competition is about a half second off their pace. And look, we called it. Here comes Marshall Newton in the number 76 machine. He's going to try and go side by side with Brian Ziegler as they go 3 wide across the start-finish line. Because now Nicholas Wing, he wants it on it too. Ooh, you're on board with Brian Ziegler, number 7, as you hear him have the lift to avoid tagging that outside wall. So now Brian Ziegler is going to get shuffled back to 9th as Marshall Newton and Nicholas King have made the advance. Marshall Newton charging hard here. He's worked his way right up to the rear bumper of Chisnall for that 6th place spot. This seems to be where all the action is on track here today, as your race leaders seem to be pretty content clicking off laps single file, as here comes Newton on the inside. Chisnall is going to let him have it, and here also comes the number 99 Nicholas Wing up the inside of the number 24 machine. As this run progresses, it's going to be very hard to get that run off the inside corner if you stay pinched down low. Up front, it's still Janekin, Nelson, Ziegler, Sykes, Schultz. Your top 5 here today. As you're watching that battle from 6th to 7th, this is where it seems a lot of the action is here today. But we made it 20 laps and we've done it green so far, so well done to all the competitors. In a race that can be rough for certain drivers, the guy's able to go out there and put down some good clean laps and no issues so far. And a lot of great racing out here today early on into the event. As right now you're watching Nicholas Wing try and put the pressure on Ziegler, but you also got to keep an eye out on Kevin Nelson, Brian Ziegler, and Norman King that are all battling hard as well. There's great racing all across the racetrack. For the most part, everybody's running together, not having any issues, and still finding great battles to be in. Oh, look at Kevin Nelson diving up the inside of Brian Ziegler to try and take over that 9th place spot, putting his truck, the Bud Light sponsored 09 Chevrolet, into the top 10 comfortably, moving up to 9th. Nelson is up 2 spots from where he started here today. It's tough to keep track of all the races. You're watching Nelson and Brian Ziegler battle it out, and again ahead of them, you've got Chisnall and Wing duking it out. These guys are battling very hard, very early on, and that's allowed your race leaders to extend quite the comfortable gap from the rest of the field. As now Wing will take over 7th place ahead of Chisnall, but here comes Kevin Nelson in the 09 machine. He's got a bit of momentum that he wants to capitalize on and keep moving that 09 Chevrolet up towards the front. We've clicked off 26 laps so far today in the main event at the Camping Universe Virginia 200. And we've got to say it's probably some of the best racing we've seen early on in the season. Good door-to-door clean racing as Kevin Nelson picks up another spot over Spencer Chisnall. I believe Tracy Wooten is going to return back out on track in the number 14 machine after being parked for about 7.5 minutes. Not sure if he had something going on or what may have been the issue here today. Norman King going to pick up a spot, as well as Brian Ziegler down to the inside line of Chisnall. King is up 1 spot so far in his number 28 Ford F-150. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the battle for 8th and 9th right now. These guys are going side by side, door to door, bumper to bumper, just for a top 10 hope, really. Slide up a little bit further. I believe that is Jeffrey Sykes trying to put the pressure on Dylan Schultz for the 4th place spot. Schultz is up 3 spots. Sykes is exactly where he started. As a great onboard with Jeffrey Sykes, allow you to listen to how much these drivers are having to check up here. Up front, it's still Clark Janekin in the number 81 machine. Clicking him off, he's about 1.3 seconds ahead of Caleb Nelson. And that is Gabe Veman, who will be going a lap down to your race leader. Veman currently 25th on track, 16th on track in the number 25 machine. As we once again have 19 trucks out on course, rolling along. Caleb Nelson in 2nd, Jared Ziegler 3rd, Dylan Schultz 4th, Jeffrey Sykes 5th. As Brian Ziegler still battling hard with Chisnall, here comes Dave Gage in the 404 machine as well to try and put himself inside the top 10. Been a very clean race. Good to see Dave Gage back out this week in the 404 machine, running strong. I am very intrigued to see what type of pit strategy comes into play here today. And I think you're going to quickly see which drivers are able to save a little bit more in the long run. And that's what tonight's going to be, judging by we've made it 35 laps under green flag conditions. It'll be an interesting night to see who can save the tires just a little bit better than their competition. As we check back in on Clark Janekin, the number 81 machine, he's getting around Tracy Wooten, who is several laps down after a very long pit stop. I believe Wooten must have had some sort of problems that caused him to come into pit lane. Caleb Nelson's going to go to the inside line along lap traffic. Nelson currently 7th in points after not attending as many races as the rest of his competition. Most guys here have all ran all 6 rounds. Nelson has only run 4, but out of those 4 starts, he did get 1 win, 1 pole position, 3 top 5s, and he was consistently within the top 10 each and every race. And on average, he finishes each race with about a 1.5 incident point for the iRacing service. So does a good job keeping it clean, and he's showing today what it takes to run up front and do so consistently. Kevin Nelson, Nicholas Wing still battling back and forth out on track. Wing has worked his way up to 7th, while Nelson has gained 3 spots so far and moved his way up into 8th, and he's going for another spot here as he dives it up the inside of Wing's number 99 machine. You can see Wing has that right side damage from tagging the wall here at Richmond. Not a lot of straightaways to really relax and catch your breath. It's one of those tracks that's pretty much turning the entire time. You've got one little straight here at the start-finish line, but other than that, it's pretty much a curve all the way around. Or I should say the backstretch is technically the straightaway. Almost reminds me of some of the flat track courses I've been on for motorcycles, where you don't really get a chance to get that wheel straightened up behind you. It's just slide, 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 and turn, turn, turn all the way around. As you hear Kevin Nelson having to baby the throttle because he knows Nicholas Wing is still right there, the number 99 machine, as well as Norman King in the number 28. This is a 3-truck battle for 7th here today. Ooh, Norman King looking for a way through the number 28 machine. He's going to follow Kevin Nelson on the inside line to see if he can get around Nicholas Wing. But it is so tough to run that bottom groove. You can't really carry much speed out through the straightaways or these straighter sections of the racetrack. As these guys are pushing really hard, Kevin Nelson, Norman King side by side. Nelson gets a little upset there in the truck. His Chevrolet fishtailing across the racetrack. As Norman King tries to capitalize on that inside line, it seems like he's going to make it stick, but Nelson's going to immediately return, diving it up the inside. Now the racing surface and the line selection here at Richmond does lend itself well to some really late braking moves. But these guys are already 46 laps on a set of tires. There's not a lot of extra traction to play with here as they're trying to keep those lap times down over the course of the run, because right now they are over a second slower than their personal best. They're about 1.3 seconds off their best pace of the race, as tire wear just really a factor here at Richmond. But I do love watching green flag races, and broadcasting green flag races allows your drivers out on track to showcase what they have, both their on-track ability as well as their off-track knowledge and planning. It makes it a lot of fun to see. We've been focusing on these further back battles for so long because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, that's where all the action is here. Is this battle for 9th, 10th, 11th has kind of been really exciting all night long. Everybody trying to get that top 10 position, score the most points they possibly can. Marshall Newton still pressuring or trying to pressure Jeffrey Sykes in the 04 machine. But man, it's been Nicholas Wing, Norman King putting on a show here at Richmond. We're about a quarter of the way through the race. Very interesting to see when we're going to have drivers come into pit lane. You're on board with Nicholas Wing. Listen to how he goes in the corners and how much they're having to de-accelerate here and really paddle the throttle to avoid lighting up those rear tires as the truck wants to drift high. But we have our first caution of the night, ladies and gentlemen, as it is going to be Daniel J. Jensen involved in an incident. Let's take a quick look and see what might have happened here. Watching Jensen, number 29 machine. Not sure what happened as he limps it down and completely stalls here. I'm not sure if he had a real-life mechanical or what that may have been, as he had to limp it back onto the pit. So I'd imagine some sort of mechanical. That will bring in our field to pit lane. We'll try and get word from our pit lane reporter to see what might have happened there, but as far as crashes go, there really wasn't one. We did get word from our pit lane reporter out there on the wall that that was a mechanical for Jensen, number 29 Ford F-150. So a rough start to the night for him. Hopefully he's able to get whatever it is fixed and back out on track. We've seen weird mechanicals before. We've seen sim wheels and pedals break. We were at a race 2 weeks ago where one of our drivers had a coolant liquid leak in his computer. Not the on-track vehicle, but his actual computer had a coolant leak. And we've seen other funny things. Kids hopping on the sim rig doing something crazy. Dogs or cats unplugging things. But it'll be interesting to see what happened to Jensen here. We've got Craig Lowen joining us here today. He's cheering on the number 24 machine. Spencer Chisnall. Lowen teammates with the number 24, but unable to make it out here today. Shane. I believe it's going to be Wooten in the number 14 machine who will get a wave around. Unfortunately, Wooten is about 23 laps down from the rest of the field. But every lap he can get back is a lap in the right direction. And he does have competition out on track. Gabe Veman ahead of him is on lap 35 while Wooten is on 31. So if this thing keeps having a occasional caution here and there, he may have a chance to get back up there and battle somebody for a few points. So we're going to re-rack him here. I'd imagine that Wooten is going to get a wave around. I'd be hard-pressed to imagine he wouldn't. There he goes. Does he go? Yes, he goes. All right, cool. I was a little perplexed there. Again, Wooten was a late entry into the series as well as tonight. He's barely making it out for qualifying and then had some sort of mechanical issue himself. But we're going to stack them back up, double file, about 6-7 rows deep here today. Pace car is in, and the green flag will fly here at Richmond once more for the Camping Universe Virginia 200. Now, guys, going to be coming out on fresh tires and able to hot lap here for a little bit. That's going to be Janekin, Nelson, Ziegler, Schultz, Newton, your top 5 here today on the restart, as we've already got a couple drivers tagging that outside wall. I believe that may have been Schultz in the number 61 machine. Really dragged that right side body panel all the way through the corner. As, oh no, the caution comes out once more. Cautions breed cautions, as it looks like it's going to be Rathbun involved in that one. That's a tough one to call. That was number 97 of Jesse Rathburn. We're going to take another look at that, a little bit slower angle, and see who else may have been involved in the incident. I believe that's the number 28 of King. Well, that's not the angle we were looking for. And once more for good measure. We got time here. So Rathbun, he's in the red, white, and blue, number 97, sponsored, Snap-on sponsored machine. I think it's just two trucks trying to occupy the same racetrack there. Not a lot of fault to be blamed. But a hard hit to the rear bumper for Jesse Rathbun. That'll send our iRacing pace car out once more for the second caution of the night. So not the race these guys were looking for in a race that was expected to go green. We saw one caution early on that was like due to a mechanical error. And then a second caution from drivers hucking it a little early, trying to make up some time as quickly as they could. Which unfortunately is going to result in at least several drivers here involved in incidents. And facing a little bit of bodywork repair as well. We're going to get him re-racked and get him pointed back in the right direction. Jesse Rathbun once again comes into pit lane trying to get some more repairs done on the number 97 machine. He'll find himself about a lap down here. As now it'll be 18 drivers on the lead lap, as I believe Cody Schultz, number 30 machine, is also going to come down pit lane. No, he does not. He looks like he just triggered the timing loop there. Maybe being a little bit too close to the inside line. It will once again be Janekin and Nelson out front. Hopefully these guys can get a good green flag run here, as there goes Janekin with a great launch. But keep an eye on this for the first time tonight. Jared Ziegler up in the mix in the inside line. He's side by side with Caleb Nelson. He may be able to carry the speed out of the inside with those a fresher set of tires. As no, Nelson's going to be able to hold on to it for one more lap. As behind them, you've got Dylan Schultz, Marshall Newton, Brian Ziegler all battling out hard for that fourth place spot. Newton driving up the inside line of Brian Ziegler, able to pick it up. But look at that, Jared Ziegler, the son, has a big wiggle up there in third place, able to hold on to it. As now it appears this field has dropped back down to single file. As we saw from the first green flag run, these competitors will have about 10 hard laps to really burn up some tires before the times rapidly start to fall off. It's going to be very intriguing to see who goes for it immediately to try and get some track position, and then maybe who plays a little bit safe and tries to plan for a long run. As Dave Gage finds himself in a pressure with Jeffrey Sykes in the 04 machine. It's the 04 and the 404 battling it out for that 7th place spot as they are side by side. Gage on the outside line, Sykes on the inside line, seems to make it stick as Kevin Nelson has a moment as well, has to collect himself. And he will lose a spot to Norman King in the number 28 machine. As I believe our drivers will be in a groove here today. Clark Janekin out front has got about a half-second advantage over Caleb Nelson. And Nelson has Jared Ziegler breathing down his neck in that 3rd place spot. We made it 53 laps before our first caution really came out, and even then it seemed like it was a bit of a snafu compared to the 2nd caution, which was just a good old-fashioned crash. Right, Janekin is clicking off some laps. Nelson's found a little bit of a time. He's about a 1/10 of a second faster that last time lap, but again, this could very well be an entire night dedicated to tire strategy and see what's going to play well for some, may not work well for others. But I think if we get those green flag runs, we saw the 50 opening lap, so it went very smoothly for everybody. There's a very good chance that this thing goes green till the end, as now we've got that restart out of the way. Once the field stretches out just a little bit, allows the racing to get a little bit cleaner for our competitors. As we take a look on the left side of your screen, that is all the running order of our drivers here today. Nelson's last time by a 22.86, almost identical to Clark Janekin out front. But Jared Ziegler, he's been charging hard here. Ziegler currently 3rd on track, trying to stay with Caleb Nelson, as your race leader is going to have traffic once more. That's Tracy Wheeler, number 14 machine. It's a very precarious spot for everybody to be in, both the driver going a lap down and the drivers trying to make their way around. It just takes one little mistake, one lapse of judgment, and you can find yourself with a ruined event and possibly ruining somebody else's as well. Always a good time seeing Jared Ziegler out on track. We call him in multiple different series that he partakes in, and always a clean racer, as he is currently leading the points chase here for the Camping Universe Series, where out of 6 races he has 2 wins, 1 pole, and he is almost always inside the top 5 with a 33.33% win ratio. Jared Ziegler is no stranger to running up front. Last event at Chicagoland he got 3rd. And at Eldora for the dirt race, he brought home a 1st in what was quite the exciting event. Super Speedways, he seems to have a little bit tougher time. He got a 4X at iRacing Super Speedway and an 8X at the Daytona Oval season opener. But he was still able to bring home a 5th at Daytona, a 7th at the iRacing Super Speedway. So even his bad nights average out to be pretty darn good. So let's keep an eye on Jared Ziegler. As again, he's 3rd on track. He's about 4/10 of a second back from Caleb Nelson in the 07 machine, but he's also about 8/10 of a second from his closest competition, Dylan Schultz, running 4th in number 61. looks like Ziegler's finding a little bit of time here and there to slowly catch up to Caleb Nelson as this run progresses. We're going to cycle a little bit further back in the field, check on Kevin Nelson, the 09 machine, kind of running a pack here. He's got Norman King right in front of him, Chisnall right behind him. But Nelson is currently on the bubble in that 10th place spot, trying to find a little bit more time here. As now Dave Gage is going to feel the pressure from both Norman King and Kevin Nelson. Gage trying to hold on to that 8th place spot in the 404 machine, but he's got a lot of company here. And let's see what's going to happen, if he's going to feel the heat or not. As yes, looks like Norman King's going to dive up the inside line, as well as Kevin Nelson. Are they going to make it a 2-car pass here? Or is Gage going to be able to hold on to something? Because also here comes Chisnall, number 24 machine. He's going to get his nose in the party. As now Gage drops to the inside line to drive a little bit defensively. You're on board with Dave Gage in the 404 machine. Now Dave, he's still up 3 spots here today. As everybody doing a fantastic job out on track, keeping it very clean, not having any big worries or issues here. As right now you are battling almost a 3-truck battle for 8th. You've got Norman King in 8th, Nelson running 9th, Gage running 10th, Chisnall running 11th. And not that far behind Chisnall in the number 24 machine, you've also got Nicholas Wing out there still charging hard. We are almost to the halfway mark to the night, and not a whole lot has changed up front, where it's still Clark Janekin, Caleb Nelson, Jared Ziegler, Dylan Schultz, and Jeffrey Sykes chugging along. Lap traffic yielding the position to your race leader, doing whatever they can to stay out of the way and not interfere with the race. Always a lot of fun and respect among all of our drivers here for the Camping Universe Series. Now Janekin, your race leader, he's only got 1 win so far this season, which was at Atlanta Oval early on for round 2. After that, he's had a series of 2nd places. A 2nd at Nashville, a 2nd at iRacing Superspeedway, and a 2nd at Chicagoland. But he wants to get out there early on and see if he can put down a dominant performance here today to put that number 81 Toyota Tundra back on the top spot. Janekin's last time by at 23.37, identical lap time as what 2nd place Caleb Nelson ran. As he is out front, clicking them off and making it look easy. He's almost got 50 laps on these sets of tires. As for the most part, majority of the field really stretched out, except for, again, this battle for 8th place where it's Nelson, King, Gage, Chisnall all within a second of each other here as you're on board with the Sour Patch 404 machine of Dave Gage. Look at that, but that's going to be Norman King really pressuring Kevin Nelson as we get Wooten into the outside wall. As King is pushing hard, trying to pressure the 09 machine. Nelson has lost the position to Norman King, but I believe he had a big blink there as well. Nelson with a big blink in the 09 machine as he dives it back up the inside line of King. Is he going to be able to make it stick? And it looks like King has the speed and coming out onto the straight. But he's also got the body damage on the right side of his truck, showing just how hard he's been pushing. We are officially past the halfway mark here today. As we're going to let you ride on board with Clark Schnecken for a couple laps. I'm going to grab a glass of water, but don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back with more action. Clark Schnecken having no problems out front, cutting through traffic once more. He still has about a second advantage over second place, Caleb Nelson, and about a 2.6 second advantage over Jared Ziegler. Again, he's been out for over 50 laps on this set of tires. He's slowed down by about 1.4 seconds into this run. How far are these drivers going to go on a set of tires? That's going to be the deciding factor here today, more so than the fuel run is going to be. Who is that getting all sort of upsettled? I believe that may have been, no, it wasn't Schultz. Maybe Joe Kroos? It's hard to tell. I think that was Kroos that got all out of shape as the leaders came by. Richmond, again, we kind of touched on it. It appears more multi-groove than it can be for the fast guys. Once you get outside that groove, especially when the truck's very tight for these drivers, it is a little bit tough to hold it from hitting that outside wall. As the drivers start to drift wide, as you saw a great example of that just now, Caleb Nelson really hanging it out in the 07 machine. It's a very fine line between going fast or tagging the wall, and Nelson was right about there on the limit, only had an inch or two left before he had a little bit of damage on the right side of the 07. Nelson's last time by at 23.56. His best lap of the race so far was a 22.31. So that should show you guys just how much the tire wear is affecting these very fast and talented drivers. Everybody battling hard with the conditions here today and making it very tough to hot lap and try and pick up any spots. Dave Gage trying to chase down Kevin Nelson late in the run. You can see just how battle-worn Gage's truck is here today. Gage trying to catch up to Nelson. They've been running almost identical laps. About 23.95 for both these competitors their last time by. And they are both really feeling the struggle of the tire wear here today. And it's going to be very interesting to me to see how things change up later on the run. This is about the longest we've been on a set of tires here today. About 62 laps on a set for these competitors. Granted, about 2 or 3 of those were under caution, but 60 laps on a set of tires is a long time at Richmond. I'm curious to see if any of these guys are going to face possible blowout conditions. If you're new to the iRacing service or watch along for the first time here today, the sim can actually show a possible blowout. If you wear out a tire tread enough where it gets below a certain percentage, the driver will all of a sudden get all sorts of loose and unsettled as they lose traction that one wheel. And they will be meatball flagged for repairs. Again, the meatball flag is a black flag with an orange circle in the middle of it. But Dave Gage still trying to work his way up to Nelson. And either stay with the tow from the 09 machine, or maybe trying to make a late pass here. It's going to be hard to tell. It's going to be extremely difficult for any of these guys to make any passes. With these long green flag runs, it is a game about average lap times, more so than coming out and setting the fastest lap of the race. I mean, it's great if you can come out here and drop a record-setting lap on lap 3 of the tire run, but it's going to be the guys that keep the tires underneath them the best. Maybe not looking for the fastest lap time, but trying to keep that average down all the way around. And it seems to be working well for Janek and Nelson Ziegler. But these guys are going to put on a race late into the run. It's Gage going up the inside of Nelson, almost makes contact with the 09 machine. The trucks are so tight at this point, it's very difficult to make any safe passes to try and facilitate that move, because if you do not make it clean, you can find yourself having to wait 2, 3, 5 laps to make it happen again. Or are we going to see Gage take another shot at Kevin Nelson's 09 machine to see if he can take over that 9th place spot? As Gage has to be careful here with no sign of a caution coming out anytime soon. If he burns up those tires a little prematurely trying to take those little feints and jabs at Nelson, it can spell disaster for his longer run here. I'm not sure how long they're going to go. They've already been out on these set of tires for 70 laps here today at Richmond. As look at that, here comes Clark Janek in the number 81 machine. He is lapping the field here, has lapped his way up to 9th place so far. As now he's going to get around Kevin Nelson, so only 8 drivers on the lead lap late in this run. And nobody's really going slow out here today. Everybody's doing a great job. That's just one of the differences of almost a second per lap faster from Clark Janek is over the course of this 70 lap fuel run these guys have had. Newton and the number 76 machine, he's going to come into pit lane to grab some 4 fresh Goodyears and go back out. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how long Janek, Nelson, and Ziegler stay out for your top 3. I would imagine here today they're going to stay out until the trucks are running close to bone dry or we get a caution. Now, as these guys start to come in on mixed tire strategy, again, as we see Marshall Newton coming in for 4 fresh Goodyears, that's going to have different guys on different tire strategies out on track. And with how tight some of these drivers are, that can really spell disasters. Right as we say that, somebody takes a wild ride towards the back. We bring out the caution, a much-needed caution for all of our drivers. Brian Robinson, Dave Gage, Kevin Nelson, all involved with that. Let's take a quick look and see what happened. Well, looks like the number 30 in the 09 touch. So that is Nelson, and that is Cody Schultz. Then Nelson gets hooked in front of Dave Gage. And then Robinson, with nowhere to go, also gets collected. So with the caution coming out, that's going to bring in the entirety of the field down into pit road. And we're going to roll it back out. Again, it's a pretty safe bet here that everybody's going to take 4 fresh Goodyears and a full tank of gas. Now, in theory, we should be able to go all the way to the end here on a fuel run, as those guys did about 75 laps on a tank of gas and a set of tires. And we said that it just takes a little bit of that mixed tire strategy to shake things up, and that may have been what happened here today. And we're going to re-rack him. It's going to be 8 drivers still on the lead lap here. Possibly 9 as we see one driver getting a wave around. But it'll be about 67 laps left to go once they get the restart. These guys should be able to make it again all the way to the end on fuel and tires. Pace car comes in. Clark Shinekin with a massive launch over Caleb Nelson. Keep an eye out, though, for Ziegler, who's been taking notes all night long to see what he can improve and learn from of our top 3 drivers. Now, I think at this point, you're going to see several drivers absolutely send it on the opening lap, knowing if they can make up some positions here, they're in a good position. But no, just like that, the caution comes out once more. It's going to be Wooten and Nelson involved. So it's Nelson in the 09 and Wooten in the 14. Nelson gets loose, come out of the corner, hooks it across the racetrack, goes careening across the line, and Tracy Wooten gets collected there. Just bad luck not being able to be in the right place, and hopefully not too much damage to the number 14 machine, as no, he is going to hit that back bumper on the inside wall. Hate to see it for Wooten, just kind of gets collected there. We will rack them once more for, I believe, the 4th caution of the night. We're going to get them re-racked and send them back out on track. It doesn't feel like 4 cautions here today. I mean, they've had some really good green flag runs, excess of over 50, 60 laps at a time, and then when the cautions do come out, there's usually one immediately following. Well, let's see if they can break that streak here on the next restart. Now, again, if you're going to see any big moves, I think it's going to happen early on, as now we have 9 drivers on the lead lap. From what I think, guys are going to push pretty hard pretty early to try and make up some time before they get into single file formation, as the tire wear really becomes a factor for all these competitors. We got Larry Fulcher joining us in the chat here today, cheering on his favorite drivers out on track. And again, well done to Larry. He just picked up a 3rd in one of his events this week. Always good seeing him out here each and every time we're in the broadcast booth. All right, pace car will be in this time by, and we'll send them back out. Here we go at Richmond for the Virginia 200. Janekin and Nelson getting plenty of starting practice here today. Jared Ziegler currently third on track with Jeffrey Sykes fourth, Dylan Schultz fifth, Brian Ziegler sixth, Spencer Chisnall seventh. You got Norman King eighth, Dave Gage ninth, and that is the only drivers that are out on the lead lap here. As you're on board with Jared Ziegler, who's battling hard with Jeffrey Sykes. Ziegler has the inside line. Sykes trying to make the high line work. I'm not sure if that's going to work, because here comes Dylan Schultz as well on the inside line. And man, these guys are battling very hard. Sykes has worked his way up to fourth here today, still searching for that podium as, oh, somebody gets a little bit loose. I believe that's Dylan Schultz. Who will get passed by Chisnall. Chisnall's working his way back up to sixth here today. Partly due to attrition, I would say, but always great seeing somebody making it pay off, as here comes Brian Ziegler, number 7 machine. He's going to try and work his way up to 7th, so I believe that might have been Brian Ziegler we saw get loose there and able to hold on to it. Back up front, Jeffrey Sykes trying to work his way up to Jared Ziegler in battle for third, but he knows Dylan Schultz is right behind him in the number 61 machine. As now the race leaders are going to start working through lap traffic. Looks like Janekin gets through nice and easy. And he's got about a 4/10 second advantage over Caleb Nelson, Jared Ziegler. As your top 3 drivers of Janekin, Nelson, Ziegler have gotten about a second advantage over 4th place Jeffrey Sykes. Now I'm not sure if Sykes maybe got tied up with traffic here or what may have happened. As, oh boy, race leaders have to dip and dodge and dive around lap traffic. Luckily they are pretty early into this tire run, so they've got a little bit of extra traction they can afford to use to kind of play Frogger with the other competition out on track. But we've got 50 laps left to go for our competitors. You're on board with Ziegler, who's trying to stay within striking distance of Nelson and Janekin. Right now, Ziegler finds himself about 0.6 of a second back, but he has gained time on Jeffrey Sykes as well, pressing his advantage up to 1.3 seconds over the 4th place driver. As let's see, Wooten comes in, or looks like he comes in pit lane. He does in the number 14 machine. Not sure if he's getting repairs done or if he may be calling it a night here. We'll have to try and get somebody down on the pit lane and ask. We're going to cycle back a little bit further. This is the battle for fourth. Jeffrey Sykes is about a half second ahead of Dylan Schultz, who is in fifth. Right behind Schultz, you've got Chisnall about 0.3 of a second back. But a lot of drivers looking for their career best finish here today. Not a lot of laps left relatively for our competitors to make big moves here, especially as the tire wear really becoming a factor. We'll take a look at your live timing and scoring tower on the left side of your screen to see where your favorite driver is. Only 9 competitors still on the lead lap here. But Clark Janekin out front, making it look easy, has extended his lead to about 0.6 seconds over Caleb Nelson. And in a battle of tire wear, he seems to be doing it the best all night long, not having too many woes or issues here today. But 42 laps left remaining as Clark is going to be the first driver to have to punch through all the traffic, because that's Kevin Nelson, no 9 machine, the battered Bud Light machine. Unfortunately, his paint scheme looking more like a disposed can at this point than it did the beautiful race truck when he started tonight's main event. Janekin's going to pick his passes very carefully here, not wanting to risk anything and put himself in a precarious position. As no lap traffic will yield the position, making it a little bit easier for Janekin out front. But now that gap, it was at over half a second. It is about 0.3 of a second as Caleb Nelson found a little bit of speed here, about 0.3 of a second faster that last time by. That could be attributed to Janekin, number 81 machine, having to avoid lap traffic, being the first truck that has to cut through the traffic here. Or it could mean that Caleb Nelson has found some speed later on in the run. It's going to be interesting to see how the tire wear affects both of these drivers. As the race leaders, they've got about a 1.4 second advantage over third place runner Jared Ziegler, who's kind of out there all by himself in the number 8 machine. Ziegler getting about 1.5 seconds back from Caleb Nelson and about 1 second ahead of Jeffrey Sykes. So I guess the one saving advantage to that is he's got clean racetrack in front and behind him, not really much draft to worry about either way. But with the laps rapidly clicking off, I mean, who's going to make any big late moves here as most of the field stretched out about a second or so between their competition. There's not really too many close battles going on track right now. Janekin, he's gained a lot of speed, is now a 9/10 advantage over Caleb Nelson. It looks like Janekin has kept a little bit of tire wear in reserve here today, stretching his gap over Nelson. And it looks like Jeffrey Sykes may be getting a little bit closer to Jared Ziegler as well, about 0.6 of a second separating our third and fourth place driver, Jared Ziegler, I should say, in third, Jeffrey Sykes in fourth. As look at this, Sykes has found some speed. He's about 0.3 of a second faster than Jared Ziegler his last time by. Let's see if Sykes has anything for him with 30 laps left to go here today. As now Ziegler, he's extended his gap to Jeffrey Sykes to about 0.6 seconds. So this has got to be tough for the guys late in this run. There's not a lot of tire wear you can really play with as they're approaching 50 laps on a set of tires. You can see your competition right in front of you, but you can't necessarily make the big moves that you want to try and make it happen. But Ziegler is a professional. He's out here trying to salvage some points, as it is only 10 points separating himself with Clark Janekin, who is second in points for the season championship. And there's only 18 points separating Jared Ziegler, or excuse me, Corey Melton in third place from Jared Ziegler, your current race leader. Now, I believe Melton did use a provisional here today, unable to make it out on track, so I hate to see that for him because Corey's one of those guys that's really fun to watch week in and week out. So hopefully we see Corey Melton, the number 48 machine, make his return next week. Because next week we do the Brickyard 150 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's going to be interesting. They call it an oval. It's more of a square track than anything, with none of the corners really driving the exact same way around, almost like a very fast version of Pocono that's got its very different corners. One of those tracks that looks deceptively easy, but kind of tough to make your way around on. Now, a bit of a pit road update. It believes Tracy Wooten and the number 14 machine may have parked it for tonight, as well as Daniel J. Jensen and Gabe Veman, two other racers that were forced to retire early. We've got another race shaping up on track. It's Norman King, the number 28 machine, who's catching up to Chisnall in the number 24. This will be the battle for 6th on track here today. And behind King, not a lot of distance between himself and Brian Ziegler as well, about 0.6 of a second separating those two drivers. Here comes Norman King diving up the inside line against Chisnall. Chisnall has the check up to avoid hitting the outside line. Is that going to allow Brian Ziegler as well to make a move here? Looks like Brian Ziegler has the check up to avoid getting to the inside of Chisnall's truck. This is the battle for 7th now as Norman King has taken over the 6th place spot. Now Ziegler has the number 76 machine in front of him. That's going to be Marshall Newton, who I believe is actually a lap down from Brian Ziegler right now. And you can see the telltale signs here of trucks starting to really lose their grip as they are tagging that outside wall more and more. And here we go. Here comes Brian Ziegler trying to put the pressure on the number 24 machine late in the race. Only 20 laps left to go for these competitors, and everyone's battling for that best position they possibly can. Now Chisnall, he does have a lapped car in front of him that may affect things, but I think Marshall Newton is on, no, he's on an older set of tires, so not sure how he has the pace here, but he's making it work well for him. Sure, on board with Brian Ziegler, it is a very tough spot to be in this late in the tire run to try and make any advances to catch your opponent in front of you. Up front, though, it's still Janekin, Nelson, Ziegler, Sykes, and Schultz rounding out your top 5 here at the Virginia 200. $17 laps to go, and this is about the closest battle we have on track right now. It's Spencer Chisnall in 7th and Brian Ziegler in 8th, battling hard. Not a lot of tire left to really do much of anything, as it is getting very difficult for these drivers to keep their pace around the racetrack. That last time by, Brian Ziegler clicked off at 24.06 compared to his fastest lap of the race at 22.58. So 1.5 very solid seconds slower out here late into the tire run. As Brian Ziegler right on the rear bumper of the number 24 of Chisnall. Up front in the field, everybody's kind of spaced out, about a second between themselves, and everybody playing nicely. As now we watch Brian Ziegler look to the inside of the number 24 machine as they go across the start-finish line. He will not have the drive going into turn 1, but is he going to send it deep? No, he thinks better of it. He's going to stay glued to the rear bumper of Chisnall and see when he can work out maybe a final pass here. He does not want to make that move too early. Because as we've seen all night, the longer you wait, and if you do make a mistake, the harder it is to capitalize and get back up to speed to take another shot at it. As the tires are just so worn. All these competitors came in on lap 128. We're on lap 187 right now. As these two drivers put on an absolute show for that 7th place spot. You can see both drivers having a little bit of damage from the incidents we've seen earlier today. Not a lot of trucks leaving tonight at Richmond unscathed. Brian Ziegler's going to look to the inside once more. He looks like he's going to make it stick as shuts the door on Chisnall. Will Chisnall be able to answer as Brian Ziegler be able to stretch his legs? The number 7 machine. It looks like so. Chisnall might have had a check up there. And like a rocket, Brian Ziegler puts about 6/10 of a second between himself and Spencer Chisnall. Chisnall driving the wheels off, but not a lot of tire wear left to make anything happen here. But that is some great clean racing from both of our competitors here today. We're going to cycle back up front to Clark Janekin and the number 81 machine. Again, you can see the damage on the very front bumper of his Toyota Tundra. Again, not many, if any, racers will be leaving without some sort of repair bill here today. As only 9 laps remaining for Clark Janek, and we've only got 8 drivers still on the lead lap here today. As the field is all sorts of strung out, this track has been surprisingly difficult for the field that showed up here today. 8 laps remaining. Clark Janek in his last time by at 23.66, 1.3 seconds slower than his fastest lap time of the race, but he has been Mr. Consistent all night long, keeping his head down, clicking them off laps, and just hitting his marks lap in and lap out, not having too many issues here today. It'll be 6 to go as Clark crosses the line. He's got about an 8/10 advantage over Caleb Nelson in second, and about a 4.3 second advantage over Jared Ziegler. Now Ziegler might have company here as he's got Jeffrey Sykes close behind by about 7/10 of a second, but with only 6 laps left to go. I'm not sure if we're going to see any final ditch efforts from anyone. Just not having the tire wear to catch themselves up to the pack. Pretty soon, Clark will be lapping Spencer Chisnall. Chisnall is 8th on track, so that should give you a good indicator of just how much of the field Clark has had to cut through here today. And a large portion of this field, this isn't from guys going laps down from caution. This is from Clark, Caleb, Jared, just running so clean all night long. There's only 4 laps left to go for these racers. Make it 3 laps left to go as now Clark has a little bit more track to cut through. And he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to make a mistake as Caleb Nelson is about 3/10 off the race leader. Now Clark has worked very hard all night long. The last thing he wants is for this to be decided at the very end due to lap traffic, as Chisnall number 24 machine immediately hops to the high line to route the race leaders through. That may slow up Caleb Nelson ever just so slightly, but there's nowhere else on track for lap cars to go. 3/10 of a second separating your race leader Clark Janek and Caleb Nelson, as the white flag will fly here at Virginia the next time by. The white flag flies. It is all in the hands and we have a crash somewhere else on track, but I don't believe that the caution will fly. And just like that, Clark Janek is going to win it here at the very end. Caleb Nelson gets second, and Jared Ziegler will take third. But let's take a quick look at that crash and see what happened. You're watching Nicholas Wing, number 99 machine. He was involved, Joe Kroos, Jeffrey Sykes. Oh, not sure if the guys were trying to get out of the way or what might have happened there. We're going to go back up front to Clark Janek, who's going to take his victory lap and burn it down in a very well-won event here today. But a great run from all of our finishers, and especially well done to Clark Janek and burning it down in the number 81 machine. Absolutely earning the victory here today. After a race that was punctuated by a few cautions, he was able to bring it home at the very end and did a spectacular job at it. As we're going to wait for our drivers to make their way up into the waiting room. Up first, we've got Jared Ziegler joining us, the number 8 machine. Jared, you brought home a third today. Is that what you were looking for, or what was the expectations coming into tonight for the Virginia 200?
No, Oh, you actually got me,
I've got
Caleb.
the wrong guy. Hang tight, Caleb. Now we've got Jared Ziegler, the number 8 machine, bringing it home in third. Jared, I mean, it was an interesting night. Was third place a result you're happy with, or what were the expectations going into tonight for the Virginia 200?
Well, I mean, third place, I'll take it. It was a really weird race. I don't think I really raced anyone the whole entire time. I had a few jabs at Caleb, but I mean, he uh he was faster than me, so I was kind of letting him go after a lap or two because I didn't want to burn my tires early in the run. Near the end there, Jeffrey, he probably became the third place truck. I was third place truck all night on speed, and he probably became that later in the race when the sun went down. I just had track position, changed my line late in the race, and I started pulling away from him again. But I don't know, it was a fun race, clean, as far as I know. So
Now,
I'm
now,
happy with third place.
now, Jared, I know the tire wear is such a factor here at Richmond, and I know you guys can only push so hard so early on. At what point in a fuel run, or I guess really a tire run is the most important thing here today, did the truck become a little bit tougher to make any sort of moves in? Was it 10 laps, 15 laps, or where were you feeling it at?
Uh, I'd probably say about 20 laps, 15, 20. Those truck starts to get tight on me. Um, I was overheating my tires a little bit. I was pushing a little bit too much. The first 5 to 10 laps in a run, it was so important here that you can burn up. You can gain so much ground, but you can burn up so much of your tire at that point. So I was trying to save, but I was also trying to keep up with at least Caleb there. And I think I kept up with him a little bit too much, especially early in the runs, and hurt me on the long run speed. I was getting really tight out of the corners. So uh, changed my lane to kind of get a straighter exit, and it worked out pretty late in the race.
Well, it seemed like you're going to be leaving the racetrack here today with one of the cleanest race trucks, making it back to the hauler. Before I let you sign off, my friend, who would you like to give a shout out to or say thanks to out there that may be supporting you?
Of course, thanks to teammates, Brian Ziegler and Brian Robinson, both of Brian's in the field tonight. P7 for number 7 truck, and Brian got stuck a lap down on that first caution, got lapped like 2 laps before the cautions. That kind of screwed him down. Finished P12, but I think he had a P9 truck. So thanks to both of them. Of course, Fanatec and Nutrient Ag Solutions being on my truck. And youth broadcasting, of course, clean racing for all the leaders up front at the very least. And lap cars got out of the way pretty well as well. So thanks to all of them.
Well, great racing all around. Good time talking to Jared. Hope to see you do well next week at Indianapolis. And as always, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Jared Ziegler bringing it home in third. Now we've got Caleb Nelson when he's supposed to be up here in the booth due to no fault of his own. But Caleb, you read me.
I do. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Caleb. A lot of great racing. Surprisingly clean racing up front. It looked like you guys kind of jostled around a little bit, dropped down a single file, and then clicked off laps. Was there any sort of strategy going into that, or was it just kind of how the cards fell here today?
Uh, Going into tonight, Richmond, you gotta save your right front here. If I mean, you can bonsai turn 1 and 2 and burn your right front off in 10, 15 laps. So race run, you kind of have to set yourself back and pace yourself. Make sure to be easy on it. But I did not expect the arrow push to be as bad as it was in traffic. So Clark nabbed that pole, and he got out front and was able to manage the distance between him and myself, and it kept that dirty nose on there and just burnt my right front up just a little bit more than I anticipated all night.
So, Caleb, you're saying once you tucked in behind traffic, that's where you found the truck the least happy? Is that what you were feeling out there?
Oh yeah, it was not happy behind other people. We could feel it in lap traffic. Actually, Clark and I were talking after the race. You can feel it in lap traffic, but I anywhere between I'd say if you're within 2 seconds, you could feel it. Mostly in turns 1 and 2, but a little bit in 3 and 4. But you could definitely feel it, and I did not expect that coming into tonight.
Now, Caleb, speaking of the unexpected, we go to Indianapolis next week for the Brickyard 150. Is that a track you're fairly comfortable at, or what's your thoughts going into Indy next week?
Well, the last time our league went here, we were in the Xfinity cars, and I managed to pick up the win. But these trucks are a whole different animal. So I expect it to be similar to a plate race and kind of a crapshoot.
Well, hopefully we see you do well. As always, it's a good time having you up here in the booth with us in the '07. Before I let you sign off, who would you like to give thanks to or any sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to? The floor is yours, my friend.
I gotta thank my friends and my family, my teammates, my dad Kevin, Marshall Newton. He had a little bit of a rough night tonight, wrong strategy call, and my dad got caught up in a wreck there. But as a team, we're doing pretty well. Can't complain about that. But I gotta thank Jared and Brian for putting this on, you for broadcasting. It's a great time.
Well, always a pleasure having you up here, my friend. Hope to see you do well next week at Indy. And thank you, as always, for your time with the interview.
All right, thank you.
That was Caleb Nelson scoring a second place, but now the man of the hour, Clark Janek, in the number 81 machine in the Toyota Tundra. Looked like a pretty dominant run out there tonight for you, Clark.
Hell yeah, man. I love that track. Richmond is a blast to drive, and I'm not very good at short tracks, so I'll take the one that I am good at. It was fun. I never had to push. Just kind of drove 70% the whole race until lap car pulled down and destroyed my nose, and then it was just trying to hang on because Caleb was fast and he was coming.
Now, you kind of touched on it. It's a short track that's not quite a short track. What makes it a little bit different than some places such as Martinsville or Bristol? Is it the tire saving, or what makes it so enjoyable for you out there in the number 81 machine?
I think it's just the layout of the track. I mean, 1 and 2 drive so different than 3 and 4. You almost have to diamond them compared to 3 and 4, where I just wrap that yellow line. And I think the curved front stretch throws everybody for a loop with their braking points. And there's actually some decent grip in the middle and the high side in 3 and 4. So I think it's just it's a racer's track, man. You can move around, you kind of be unique with the way you run it, and still make speed. It's just fun to get around.
Now, I'm not very good at math, so bear with me, but you may be the points leader after this round. If not, it's going to be very close with yourself and Jared Ziegler. And now you're tied for the most amount of wins with Jared Ziegler later on the season. Is there any tracks coming up on the schedule you're really excited about or apprehensive about, or what's the feeling for the rest of the season here?
Uh, Kansas will be fun. I'm pretty good there. Darlington maybe, but the chase is kind of scary. Bristol and Martinsville, I'm probably going to struggle. Phoenix, I'll probably struggle, and I have terrible, terrible luck at plate tracks. So I'm just trying to win while I can. I got tired of finishing second. I did it twice, so it was nice to get back to victory lane.
Well, great job as always, Clark. Always a pleasure talking to you. Before I let you sign off and celebrate with the rest of the team supporting the number 81 machine, who would you like to give thanks to behind the scenes that's giving you the little extra push to bring it home for the second win all season long?
First off, all my teammates at All American Motorsports. My buddy Darren Clement at ECM. He's a huge help. He's been my mentor since I started this thing. Peak Performance Motorsports, Precision Plus, Race Setup Shop, Burnt Rubber Design, Surfshark, Glitch Energy, and appreciate you broadcasting. Looking forward to watching this.
Always a pleasure, Clark, and always a great time having you up here in the booth with me.
Hell yeah, man.
That is Clark Janekin, who's going to bring it home in the win and the number 81 machine after a great race all the way around. Our competitors, we had about 4 cautions here today, but for the most part, everybody kept it nice and clean all the way through. So for 200 laps of Richmond, I'd say that was a pretty darn good race for the Camping Universe Virginia 200. Again, it was Janekin, Nelson, and Jared Ziegler, your top 3 here tonight. But as always, on behalf of the Camping Universe Truck Series, as well as Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, I am James East, wishing you a happy and safe evening, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great night, everyone.